I still remember the exact moment my entire world shattered. It was my 18th birthday. Rain pounded against the windows of the only home I'd ever known, and I was standing in the foyer with a small suitcase in my hand, because my own mother had just told me to pack my things and get out. "Emily," she said, her voice ice cold, arms crossed like she was doing me some kind of favor, "you've been freeloading long enough. Grandma's money isn't yours just because you played the sweet little angel for her. You don't deserve a single cent of it. Now leave before I call the cops." My heart slammed against my ribs so hard I thought it would break them. Tears blurred everything, but I could still see the smug twist of her lips, the way my older brother Jake stood behind her nodding like this was totally reasonable. I begged. God, I begged. "Mom, please. It's pouring outside. I have nowhere to go. Grandma wouldn't want this. Don't you dare bring her into this," she snapped. "Grandma spoiled you rotten, and look what it did. Turned you into an entitled brat who thinks the world owes her. The fortune is staying in this family, and that means people who actually earned it. Out. Now." The door slammed behind me so hard the frame rattled. I stood on the porch in the freezing rain, suitcase soaking through, phone battery at 6%. No money, no plan, just the clothes on my back and the necklace Grandma gave me the week before she passed. The one with the tiny silver key pendant she said would unlock everything when the time was right. Can you even imagine that? Your own mother throwing you out on your birthday because she believed you didn't deserve the inheritance your dying grandmother promised you? My blood was boiling and freezing at the same time. I wanted to scream, to pound on the door, to make her feel even a fraction of the terror ripping through me. But I didn't. I turned and walked into the storm because what else could I do? Let me take you back a little, because you need to understand how we got here. My name is Emily Harper. I grew up in a pretty average middle-class house in suburban Ohio. Dad left when I was 5, said he couldn't handle Mom's ambitions. After that, it was just Mom, my brother Jake, and me. Jake was the golden child, star athlete, straight A student when he bothered to try, always charming teachers and coaches. Mom worshipped him. Me? I was the quiet one who loved reading, helping in the garden, and spending every possible weekend with Grandma Rose. Grandma lived 20 minutes away in the beautiful old Victorian house Grandpa built back in the 60s. She had that big wraparound porch, roses everywhere, and a kitchen that always smelled like cinnamon and fresh bread. From the time I was little, I'd ride my bike over after school and stay until dinner. We'd bake, or she'd teach me how to refinish furniture, or we'd just sit on the swing talking about everything and nothing. Grandma never had much patience for Mom's materialism. Mom, Karen by the way, was always chasing the next big thing. Designer bags, luxury cars on credit, vacations we couldn't afford. Grandma would roll her eyes and mutter, "That girl thinks money grows on trees she refuses to water." But Grandma saw something in me. She said I had her heart, quiet but fierce, kind but unbreakable. When Grandpa died 10 years ago, he left everything to her. The house, the investments, the savings from his engineering patents. It added up to a lot more than anyone in the family realized, quietly compounding over decades into what I later learned was about $2.5 million. Grandma got sick fast. Pancreatic cancer. Diagnosed in March, gone by September. I was 17, a senior in high school, and I spent every spare moment at her bedside. I read to her, held her hand during chemo, slept on the hospital chair when Mom and Jake were too busy. The last week, she was barely conscious. But one night, she grabbed my hand with surprising strength and whispered, "Emily, the key. It unlocks everything. Promise me you'll fight for what's yours." I thought she was delirious. I promised anyway, tears dripping onto her blanket. She passed 3 days later. The funeral was small. Mom cried the loudest, of course. Big dramatic sobs that had distant relatives patting her back. Jake stood stoic in his new suit. I just felt numb. Then came the will reading. We all gathered in the lawyer's office 2 weeks later. I wasn't even sure I was supposed to be there, but Grandma's attorney, Mr. Whitaker, had specifically requested my presence. Mom sat ramrod straight, clutching her purse like it might fly away. Jake scrolled on his phone. I sat in the corner twisting Grandma's necklace. Mr. Whitaker cleared his throat and began. He read the usual stuff first. Small bequests to charities Grandma loved, a few pieces of jewelry to cousins. Then he got to the main estate. "To my daughter Karen Harper, I leave the sum of $1 so that she may never say I forgot her." Mom gasped. Jake's head snapped up. "To my grandson Jacob Harper, I leave the sum of $1 for the same reason." You could have heard a pin drop. and to my beloved granddaughter Emily Rose Harper, I leave the remainder of my estate, the house at 412 Maple Lane, all investments, savings accounts, and personal possessions, to be held in trust until her 21st birthday, at which point full control passes to her alone. I do this because Emily has shown me the true meaning of family, love without condition, presence without demand. She is the only one who has earned my complete trust. I sat there frozen. $2.5 million the house, everything. Mom's face went from pale to purple. "This is a mistake," she shrieked. "Mother was not in her right mind. She was on morphine." Mr. Whitaker calmly explained that Grandma had updated the will 6 months earlier, had multiple competency evaluations, and even recorded a video statement explaining her choices. It was ironclad. Mom stormed out, dragging Jake with her. I stayed to sign papers, still in shock. That night, Mom was waiting when I got home. She didn't yell at first. She was eerily calm. "Emily," she said, pouring herself a large glass of wine, "we need to talk about this misunderstanding." I should have seen it coming. She laid it out like a business proposal. I would sign over control of the trust to her for management purposes. In return, I could continue living at home rent-free, and she'd make sure I got a reasonable allowance for college. When I refused, quietly, politely, but firmly, she dropped the act. Her voice turned venomous. "You ungrateful little bitch. After everything I've done for you, you think you're special because an old woman felt sorry for you? That money is family money, and it belongs to the people who actually keep this family running, me and your brother." I told her the lawyer said no one could touch it until I was 21, and even then, only I controlled it. That's when she smiled, this cold, calculating smile that made my stomach drop. "Fine," she said, "then you're no longer part of this family." And that brings us back to my 18th birthday, 3 months later, standing in the rain with nowhere to go. I walked for hours until I found a 24-hour diner. I sat in a booth nursing a single coffee until morning, charging my phone in the outlet by the window. First call was to Mr. Whitaker. He sounded genuinely concerned and said the trust included a small monthly living stipend starting immediately, $800. Not much, but enough to survive if I was careful. He also reminded me the house was legally mine, but since I was under 21, a court-appointed trustee managed it and rented it out for now. The rent money went into the trust. Second call was to my best friend Sarah's mom, Mrs. Delgado. They let me sleep on their couch for 2 weeks while I figured things out. I got a job at a coffee shop, enrolled in community college part-time, lived in the cheapest studio apartment I could find that didn't have bugs. Mom never called, not once. Jake texted once, "Mom's pissed. Just do what she says and come home." I didn't reply. Those first 2 years were brutal. I worked 50-hour weeks, studied at night, ate ramen and canned soup. I cried in the shower so no one would hear. Some nights I stared at Grandma's necklace and wondered if fighting was worth it, if maybe Mom was right and I didn't deserve it. But every time that voice crept in, I remembered Grandma's frail hand squeezing mine. Fight for what's yours. So I fought, quietly. I kept my grades up, saved every penny beyond rent and food, stayed away from parties, from debt, from anything that could give Mom ammunition if she ever challenged the will again. She tried, by the way, twice. Both times the judge threw it out. Cost her thousands in legal fees she didn't have. I turned 21 in that tiny studio, celebrating with a single cupcake and a candle. Sarah came over with cheap wine. We toasted Grandma. The next day, Mr. Whitaker called. The trust dissolved. Everything was mine, free and clear. $2.5 million in investments. The house, now vacant because the tenant's lease ended perfectly on my birthday. A safety deposit box I didn't even know about. I opened the box first. Inside was a letter in Grandma's handwriting, dated the day she updated the will. "My dearest Emily, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and you've made it to 21. I'm so proud of you. I knew your mother would fight this. I knew she'd try to take what isn't hers. That's why I protected you the best I could. There's something else in this box. A second key. It opens the attic trunk in my bedroom. Inside, you'll find journals I kept for decades. Read them when you're ready." They'll explain why I made the choices I did. I love you more than words, my sweet girl. Live well, be happy, and never let anyone make you feel small. Love always, Grandma Rose. I cried so hard the bank teller brought me tissues. That weekend I drove to the house, my house, for the first time as owner. It smelled exactly the same, cinnamon and roses. I went straight to the attic. The trunk was old leather, heavy. Inside were dozens of leather-bound journals. I started with the most recent. Page after page detailed Mom's behavior over the years, demanding money for emergencies that were always shopping sprees, forging Grandma's signature on checks once, threatening to put her in a cheap nursing home if she didn't share the wealth. But the real bombshell was in a journal from 15 years earlier. Grandma wrote about discovering that Mom had been siphoning money from Grandpa's business accounts before he died. Hundreds of thousands skimmed over years. Grandpa never knew. Grandma confronted her privately, and Mom promised to pay it back. She never did. Grandma wrote, "I forgave her once because she's my daughter, but I will not let her steal from my granddaughter too. Emily is the only one who loves without asking for anything in return." There was even a flash drive with scanned documents, proof of the theft. I sat on the attic floor surrounded by journals until sunset. Then I made a decision. I didn't rush to confront Mom. I waited. First, I moved into the house. I redecorated slowly, making it mine. Planted new roses. Turned Grandpa's old workshop into an art studio because I'd always wanted to paint. I finished my degree, transferred to State University, graduated with honors in English literature. The investments grew. I was careful. Worked with a fiduciary advisor Mr. Whitaker recommended. By 23, the portfolio was closer to $3.1 million. Mom and Jake, meanwhile, were spiraling. Without Grandma's occasional loans, Mom's spending caught up. Credit cards maxed, car repossessed. They downsized twice. Jake dropped out of college after a DUI. Got fired from 3 jobs. I knew all this because our small town talks, and because Mom started leaving voicemails once she realized I wasn't coming back broke. First they were angry. "You owe us for raising you." Then pleading, "We're family, Emily, help your mother out." Then desperate, "Jake needs rehab money, please." I saved every message. On the day I turned 24, exactly 6 years after she threw me out, I decided it was time. I called Mom and invited her and Jake to the house for a family meeting. Said I wanted to bury the hatchet. She agreed so fast it was almost funny. They showed up dressed in their best. Mom in a tight dress 2 sizes too small. Jake in a wrinkled button-down smelling like stale smoke. I welcomed them warmly. Gave them a tour of the beautifully restored house. Served coffee and Grandma's cinnamon scones that I'd learned to bake perfectly. We sat in the living room, the same one where Grandma used to read me stories. I started gently. "Mom, Jake, I've been thinking a lot about family lately, about forgiveness." Mom's eyes lit up. She leaned forward greedily. I continued, "And I've decided to forgive you both." Mom actually teared up, fake, of course. "Oh, honey, that's wonderful. We can put all this ugliness behind us." I smiled. "Exactly. Which is why I'm going to make sure you never have to worry about money again." I pulled out a folder and slid it across the coffee table. Inside were copies of the journal entries about Mom's theft from Grandpa's business, bank records, the forged checks, everything from the flash drive, organized and annotated. Mom's face drained of color. What is this?" "Proof," I said calmly, "that you embezzled over $400,000 from Grandpa before he died. Grandma knew. She protected you then. I'm not going to." Jake shifted uncomfortably. Come on." I kept going. "Here's how this works. You're going to sign this document acknowledging the debt, adjusted for interest and inflation, roughly $1.2 million today. You'll make reasonable monthly payments for the rest of your lives. In return, I won't file charges for fraud and forgery, which are still within the statute of limitations in this state." Mom started screaming, calling me every name imaginable. Jake tried to play good cop. "This is insane. You can't do this." I waited until she ran out of steam. Then I said quietly, "Actually, I can choose not to. But only if you sign." Otherwise, Monday morning, these go to the district attorney. And I'll be filing a civil suit for the full amount plus damages. I watched every ounce of fight drain from her face. She signed. So did Jake as witness. They left without touching the scones. I never pressed charges. The signed acknowledgement was enough. Every month, a small automatic payment comes out of Mom's Social Security and Jake's disability checks. $300 total. It'll take them 300 years to pay it off. They live in a rundown apartment now. Mom works part-time at a dollar store. Jake bounces between odd jobs. I heard Mom tells people her daughter stole the family fortune out of spite. Let her. I kept the house. I travel when I want. I started a small scholarship fund in Grandma's name for kids from broken homes who love books. Sometimes I sit on the porch swing at sunset, wearing Grandma's necklace and feel her with me. The key pendant? Turns out it really did unlock everything. The attic trunk, yes. But more importantly, the strength I didn't know I had. So yeah, Mom said I didn't deserve Grandma's fortune. She was wrong. I earned every single penny, with love, loyalty, and 6 years of pure grit. And now, it's all mine. But let me back up again, because I skipped over some of the darkest parts. Those first few months on my own that almost broke me completely. After Mrs. Delgado's couch, I found that studio apartment above a garage. It was 400 square feet, peeling linoleum, radiator that clanked like a dying animal all night. Rent was $550. My coffee shop job paid $9.25 an hour plus tips. Maybe $200 a month if I was lucky. The first night alone, I lay on the air mattress I'd bought at Walmart and stared at the water stain on the ceiling that looked like a screaming face. I kept replaying Mom's words. You don't deserve a single cent. Over and over until I wanted to throw up. I didn't sleep much those first weeks. I'd wake up gasping, convinced I was still on the porch in the rain. Money was so tight I had to choose between laundry quarters and food some weeks. I lost 15 pounds I didn't have to lose. My hair started falling out in clumps from stress. But the worst was the loneliness. Sarah tried. God bless her. She'd drag me out for cheap tacos or movie nights at her place. But everyone else? Radio silence. Old high school friends suddenly didn't know what really happened and took Mom's side. Cousins unfriended me on Facebook after Mom's smear campaign about how I'd manipulated a sick old woman. Even teachers I thought cared looked at me differently. I felt like a ghost. Like the girl Emily Harper who had a family, a home, a future, had died the night that door slammed. Some nights I'd sit on the fire escape with Grandma's necklace in my fist and whisper to the stars, "Why did you leave me here to fight alone?" But then morning would come, and I'd put on my uniform, smile at customers, study in the back room during slow shifts. Because giving up meant Mom won, and I refused to let her win. One particularly bad night, about 6 months in, my car broke down. Transmission. Repair quote, $2,800. I had $400 in savings. I sat in the mechanic's waiting room and just lost it. Ugly cried right there in front of the guy. He ended up cutting me a deal. $1,800 if I could pay half up front. I sold my laptop, my high school class ring, every piece of jewelry except Grandma's necklace. Took the bus for 8 months after that, but I paid it off and kept going. Small victories started piling up. I got promoted to shift supervisor, $12 an hour. Found a roommate situation that cut rent in half. Aced my first semester of community college. Started painting again, cheap canvases from the dollar store, but it kept me sane. Every milestone I'd text myself in a private note. Day 312 without family, still standing. I wish I could say there was one big moment where everything clicked and the pain stopped. There wasn't. It was 1,000 tiny moments of choosing to get up, choosing to study, choosing to believe Grandma saw something worth betting on. By the time I transferred to university, I barely recognized the girl in the mirror. Still quiet, but with steel in her eyes. That's when Mom's first legal challenge hit. She claimed undue influence, said I'd coerced Grandma while she was medicated. The judge reviewed the video statement Grandma left. In it, she looked straight at the camera, lucid as ever, and said, "If Karen challenges this will, it's only because she can't accept that love matters more than blood." Emily earned my trust every day she sat with me without asking for anything. Karen only visited when she needed money. Case dismissed. Mom had to pay court costs. I heard through Sarah's mom that she screamed at her own lawyer for an hour afterward. Second challenge came a year later. Some nonsense about the trust being mismanaged. Also thrown out. Each loss chipped away at her. Meanwhile, I graduated summa cum laude. Got accepted into a master's program I deferred because, well, I was ready to go home. Moving back into Grandma's house at 21 felt surreal. The first night, I slept in her old bedroom, just the way she left it. Her lavender sachets still in the drawers, her reading glasses on the nightstand. I cried again, but this time from relief. I spent weeks going through her things gently. Found photo albums I'd never seen. Pictures of her as a young woman, traveling the world with Grandpa before kids. Found letters Grandpa wrote her during his army days. So much love. And in the bottom drawer of her dresser, wrapped in tissue, a small silver frame with a photo of me at 10, grinning gap-toothed on the porch swing. On the back, my heart outside my body. I hung it above the fireplace. Slowly, the house became mine without erasing her. New paint in the kitchen, soft sage green. My books filling the shelves, fresh roses from the garden on the table every week. I started hosting Sunday dinners for friends who'd stuck by me. Sarah, a couple college friends, even Mrs. Delgado. Laughter filled rooms that had been silent too long. And still, Mom's voicemails kept coming. By then they were pathetic. "Emily, it's Mom. I know you're angry, but Jake's in trouble again. He needs help. You have so much now." I saved them all. Evidence of how low she'd sunk. Jake got arrested for possession. Mom bailed him out and maxed another card. They lost the house, our old house, to foreclosure. Moved into a 2-bedroom rental in the bad part of town. I knew because the automatic payments from the acknowledgement started bouncing sometimes. I never waived them. When I invited them over at 24, I wasn't being kind. I was ending it on my terms. Seeing Mom's face when I slid that folder across the table? Priceless. She tried every trick. Tears, rage, bargaining, threats. "I'll tell everyone you blackmailed us." "Go ahead," I said. "I have the journals, the proof, and a signed confession. You have nothing." Jake tried to lunge across the table once, like he was going to intimidate me. I didn't flinch. "Touch me," I said quietly. "And I call the police right now. Assault on top of fraud? Have fun in prison." He sat back down. They signed. As they left, Mom paused at the door. "You're just like me," she spat, cold, cruel. I smiled, the first real smile I'd felt in years. "No, Mom, I'm like Grandma. I protect what's mine. There's a difference." The door closed softly this time, my choice. I poured myself a glass of wine on the porch that night and watched the stars. Felt the weight lift, truly lift, for the first time since I was 17. People ask sometimes if I feel guilty. Not even a little. Grandma didn't leave me money because I was blood. She left it because I showed up. Every day. With love that didn't keep score. Mom showed up with her hand out. There's justice in that. These days I volunteer at a women's shelter. Help young girls who've been kicked out or worse. Tell them my story when they're ready. Remind them that survival is the first revenge, and thriving is the second. I still wear the necklace every day. The key pendant catches the light sometimes, and I smile. It really did unlock everything. My home, my future, my peace, and the sweetest revenge of all. Living well, knowing they watch from the outside. So yeah, Mom said I didn't deserve Grandma's fortune. Turns out I deserved it more than anyone. And now, it's mine forever. Whew! Did this one give you that satisfying chill? Wait, there's actually one last chapter I almost forgot. The most poetic piece of karma. About a year after the confrontation, I got a call from an unknown number. It was Mom's neighbor. Apparently she'd had a stroke. Minor, but scary. Hospital bills piling up. The neighbor found my number in Mom's phone under Emily Do Not Call. But she called anyway. Said Mom was asking for me in her more lucid moments. Not begging, just saying my name. I thought about it for days. Then I went to the hospital. Mom looked small in the bed, grayer, frailer. When she saw me, her eyes filled with tears. I sat beside her. We didn't speak for a long time. Finally, she whispered, "I'm sorry." I waited. "I was scared," she said. "After your dad left, I thought money was the only safety. I pushed everyone away chasing it. I pushed you away. I nodded. I hated that Grandma saw right through me, and loved you more because you didn't need anything from her. Her voice cracked. I was jealous of my own daughter. How pathetic is that? I didn't answer. Just let her talk. She cried quietly. I don't expect forgiveness. I just needed to say it. I reached out and took her hand. The same hand that pushed me into the rain years ago. I forgive you, I said. But we're not going to be mother and daughter again. Not like before. She nodded, tears dripping. That's fair. I paid the hospital bill anonymously. Made sure she got decent rehab. Not because she deserved it. Because Grandma would have. Because I'm not her. A few months later, Jake got clean. Really clean. Moved into a sober living house. Started trade school. He sent a letter, long, handwritten, apologized for everything. Said watching Mom break finally woke him up. Asked if he could earn the right to know his sister someday. I wrote back, we'll see. One day at a time. Life isn't a fairy tale. There's no perfect bow. But there is peace. I still live in Grandma's house. The roses bloom bigger every year. I published a book last year. Creative nonfiction about intergenerational trauma and healing. Dedicated to Grandma. It's doing well. Sometimes I get emails from readers who were kicked out young, or cut off for being authentic, or betrayed by family over money. I answer everyone. Tell them, you are not what they said you were. You are not alone. And sometimes, the greatest revenge is simply becoming the person they claimed you could never be. Happy, whole, free. So that's my story. From homeless on my 18th birthday to guardian of the legacy Grandma trusted me with. From heartbreak to hard-won triumph. From you don't deserve it, to watch me prove I do. Whew! Did this one give you that satisfying chill? Actually, one final tiny epilogue, because the universe has a sense of humor. Last Christmas, 7 years after she threw me out, Mom showed up on my porch. Not demanding, not crying, just holding a small, poorly wrapped gift. I made these, she said quietly. Your favorite, cinnamon scones. Her hands were shaking. I took the plate. We stood there in the cold for a minute. Thank you, I said. She nodded, turned to leave. Mom, I called. She looked back. You can come in for coffee just this once. She cried then. We sat at the kitchen table, same one where Grandma taught me to bake. Didn't talk about the past, just drank coffee and ate scones that tasted almost exactly right. When she left, she hugged me, hesitant, like she was scared I'd pull away. I didn't, but I didn't ask her to stay either. Some wounds heal into scars, stronger tissue, not the same skin, but still part of you. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough. Grandma, wherever you are, I hope you're proud. I fought for what was mine, and I won. Whew! Did this one give you that satisfying chill?